Parents disowned their 17-year-old son. Said his fiancée was too poor, kicked him out with nothing. He disappeared for 22 long years, built a billion-dollar empire in silence. Then he came back, bought their entire village land, and gave them 45 days to leave the family homestead forever. This is the most ruthless family revenge you'll ever hear. Bitter revenge starts right now. My name is Liam Carter. I was 17 when my parents told me I was no longer their son. We lived in a small rural town outside Asheville, North Carolina, rolling hills, population 1,800. My father, Thomas Carter, owned Carter Timber and Lumber, a mid-sized logging and sawmill operation that supplied hardwood to furniture manufacturers across the Southeast. Revenue was steady at $18 to $22 million a year. My mother, Margaret, ran the office and the household. They were pillars of the community, church elders, Rotary Club members, donors to the local high school football team. I had one sibling, my older sister, Brooke, 4 years older, beauty queen, cheer captain, engaged to the mayor's son by 20. Brooke was perfect. I was different. Quiet, bookish, always tinkering with old radios and building computers from scrap parts. I dreamed of software engineering, Silicon Valley, escaping the small-town cycle of logging trucks and church potlucks. The breaking point came when I fell in love with Sophia Ramirez. Sophia was the daughter of migrant workers who had settled in Rolling Hills. Her father worked at Dad's mill, her mother cleaned houses. Sophia was brilliant, valedictorian, full-ride scholarship to UNC Chapel Hill for biochemistry. She was kind, funny, beautiful, and poor. We met junior year in AP Calculus. By senior year we were inseparable. I told my parents I wanted to marry her after graduation. Dad exploded. "You're throwing your life away," he shouted in the living room. "She's got nothing. No family name, no money, no future here. You think you can support her on dreams?" Mom stood beside him, arms crossed. "We raised you better. You're a Carter. You don't marry down. You marry up, or at least equal." I said, "I love her. She's going to be a doctor. I'm going to build something big. We'll make it." Dad laughed, cold, bitter. "You're 17. You don't know anything. If you marry her, you're out. No college money. No house. No family. You're dead to us." I stared. "You're serious?" Mom nodded. "We won't support this. Choose, her or us." I chose Sophia. The next day they changed the locks. I came home from school to find my things in trash bags on the porch. Dad stood in the doorway. "You made your choice," he said. "Don't come back." I left with $400 from my part-time job at the mill, before they fired me, a backpack, my laptop, and Sophia waiting in her dad's old pickup. We drove to Chapel Hill that night. Her scholarship-covered dorm, mine was gone. I enrolled at community college, worked nights at a warehouse, lived in a shared apartment with 4 guys. No calls. No birthday texts. No Christmas cards. Brooke got the full treatment, wedding paid for, house down payment gifted, trust fund started. They posted her engagement photos online, smiling, perfect, no mention of me. I didn't speak to them for 12 years. Sophia and I married at 19 Courthouse, 2 friends as witnesses. She finished UNC pre-med, then med school on loans and scholarships. I transferred to NC State, majored in computer science with a focus on AI and blockchain. Graduated with honors. Landed a job at a fintech startup in Raleigh, $92,000 starting. We lived frugally. No vacations. No new cars. We saved, invested, built credit. Sophia became a pediatric oncologist, $240,000 salary. I climbed fast, senior developer, then CTO at a blockchain security firm. Equity stake from early rounds netted $7.4 million when we sold to a major player. By 30 I founded Carter Innovations, deliberate name. Focused on AI-driven supply chain optimization for manufacturing and logistics. First client, a lumber distributor, ironic. Revenue hit $35 million year 3, $140 million year 6. I kept it private, bootstrapped, no VC dilution. I never told my parents. Changed my social media to private, used Liam C. professionally. They thought I was struggling in the city. 22 years after they disowned me, the opportunity came. Carter Timber and Lumber was dying. Logging regulations tightened, labor shortages, competition from imported wood, bad investments, mostly Connor, Brooks' husband now squandering cash on bad real estate flips. Debt hit $28 million. The mill closed. The family land, 1,200 acres of prime timber and development zone parcels in Rolling Hills, went up for auction to cover loans. I formed Blue Ridge Holdings anonymous shell. Through brokers, I bid $21 million cash, took the entire portfolio, mill site, timber rights, residential zone acreage, the old family homestead on 40 acres. The bank accepted. No other bidders wanted the liability. Closing day, Charlotte Title Office. Thomas, Margaret, Brooke, and her husband Connor on one side, Thomas in his old flannel, Margaret clutching a tissue, Brooke looking uncomfortable, Connor hungover. They didn't know the buyer until I walked in. Ethan? Thomas whispered. I took the head chair. It's Liam Carter now. Blue Ridge Holdings is purchasing Carter Timber and Lumber and all associated land today. Cash wired. Debt cleared. Margaret gasped. Brooke stared. Connor muttered, no way. I slid the final docs. As new owner, I'm making immediate changes. Thomas Carter, Margaret Carter, Connor Hayes, you are all terminated from any remaining operations. No severance, no consulting. The family homestead is now mine. You have 30 days to vacate. After that, eviction proceedings begin. Thomas's voice cracked. Liam, son. This is our land. Our legacy. I looked at him evenly. You disowned me at 17 for marrying Sophia. You said she was poor, beneath us. You cut me off, never called, never apologized. This isn't revenge. This is ownership. Margaret started crying. We were wrong. We know now. Please, it's our home. I paused. You said there was no place for me. Now there's no place for you. 30 days. Connor exploded. You can't do this. We'll fight you. I stood. You can try. But the deeds are clean. The sale is final. 30 days. Security stepped in. They left Thomas leaning on Margaret, Brooke in tears, Connor cursing. I walked the old homestead that evening, empty rooms, faded photos still on walls. The land my grandfather cleared, my father logged, now mine. 22 years after they disowned me for marrying poor, I bought their entire village land. And gave them 30 days to leave. The first decade after the disownment was survival. Sophia and I scraped by in Chapel Hill. She studied pre-med on full scholarships and loans. I worked nights at a data center, days at community college. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, rent $650, utilities included. No cable, no eating out, no new clothes. We celebrated our first anniversary with ramen and a $5 bottle of wine. Sophia cried happy tears when I gave her a handmade ring from scrap silver. I transferred to NC State at 20. Sophia got into UNC Med School. We moved to Raleigh, still tiny apartment, still frugal. I graduated with a double major in computer science and applied mathematics, summa cum laude. Landed an entry-level job at a cybersecurity firm, $78,000 starting. Sophia matched her residency at Duke. We paid off her loans aggressively, saved every bonus. By 28 I had my first breakthrough, developed an AI-based fraud detection algorithm for banks. Patented it. Sold the tech to a major fintech for $12 million, my share $4.8 million after taxes. We didn't splurge. Bought a modest 3-bedroom in Cary, paid cash. Invested the rest index funds, real estate in growing Triangle area, early crypto positions, sold before the 2022 crash. Sophia finished residency, became a pediatric cardiologist, $320,000 salary. We had our first child, Ava, at 30. Then twins, Mateo and Isabella. 4 kids total. No nannies. No private schools at first. We taught them work ethic, kindness, gratitude. Sophia and I never fought about money, we fought about who got to read bedtime stories. I founded Carter Innovations at 32, deliberate name. Focused on AI for supply chain resilience in manufacturing and agriculture. First client, a timber company, ironic. Revenue hit $85 million year 4, $280 million year 7. I kept majority control, no VC dilution. Went public at 39 NASDAQ listing, shares doubled in 6 months. Net worth crossed $1.4 billion. I never told my parents. Changed my last name legally to Carter Ramirez after Ava was born. Social media private. They thought I was somewhere in Raleigh, probably struggling. 22 years after the disownment, the land came up. Rolling Hills, my childhood town, was dying. Timber industry collapsed, regulations, imports, climate change. Carter Timber and Lumber shut down. The family land, 1,800 acres of timber, farmland, and development zone parcels, went into foreclosure. The homestead, the old farmhouse on 60 acres, and the mill site were part of it. The entire village adjacent acreage was bundled $18 million debt, bank auction set. I formed Ridge Legacy Partners Anonymous LLC. Through brokers, I bid $14.2 million cash, took the whole portfolio. No other bidders wanted the liability. Closing day, Asheville Title Office. Thomas, Margaret, Brooke, and her husband, now ex-mayor's son, on one side. Thomas in faded Carhartt, Margaret with a walker, Brooke looking exhausted, her husband silent. They didn't know the buyer until I walked in. Liam? Thomas whispered. I sat at the head. It's Liam Carter Ramirez now. Ridge Legacy Partners is purchasing Carter Timber and Lumber assets and all associated land today. Cash wired. Debt cleared. Margaret clutched her walker. Brooke stared. Her husband muttered, no. I slid the papers. As new owner, I'm making immediate changes. Thomas Carter, Margaret Carter, Brooke Hayes, you are all removed from any remaining interests. No severance, no consulting. The homestead and all family parcels are now mine. You have 45 days to vacate the farmhouse. After that, eviction begins. Thomas's voice broke. Liam, this is our land. Our home. Our legacy. I looked at him calmly. You disowned me at 17 for marrying Sophia. You said she was poor, beneath us. You cut me off, never called, never apologized. You chose Brooke's perfect life over mine. This isn't revenge. This is ownership. Margaret sobbed. We were wrong. We know now. Please, it's our home. Our memories. I paused. You said there was no place for me or my family. Now there's no place for you. 45 days. Brooke whispered. We have kids. Grandkids. They need to see the farm. I stood. You had 22 years to include mine. You didn't. 45 days. Security stepped in. They left. Thomas supported by Margaret, Brooke in tears, her husband silent. I walked the homestead that evening, empty rooms, faded photos still on walls. The land my great-grandfather homesteaded, my father logged, now mine. I didn't demolish it. I renovated the farmhouse, modernized, kept the original charm. turned the 1,800 acres into a conservation trust mixed with sustainable development. Timber selectively harvested, solar farm on 400 acres, affordable housing on zoned parcels for low-income families. Named it Ramirez Carter Community Land Trust. Sophia's name first, deliberate. I never invited them back. Thomas died 2 years later, cancer. No invite sent to me. Margaret followed a year after, heart failure. Brooke sold what little personal assets remained, moved to Charlotte. Her husband left her. She worked as a receptionist. Connor, Brooke's son, tried one reach. Email to my foundation. Uncle Liam. Grandma and Grandpa are gone. Mom's struggling. I'm in college, first in family. I know what they did. I'm sorry. If you ever want to meet, no pressure. Connor. I read it. Donated $50,000 anonymously to his scholarship fund. No reply. 22 years after they disowned me for marrying poor, the village land, once their empire, was mine. They had regret, graves, and silence. I had Sophia, our kids, our legacy. The land that once excluded us now included everyone. Karma didn't need drama. It needed 22 years. And one son who turned poor into power. The 45-day eviction clock ticked down slowly for them, but fast for me. I didn't rush the process. I let the notice stand, certified mail, sheriff's deputy visit, everything legal. They tried to negotiate through a low-cost attorney. Can we have 90 days? For health reasons? Denied. Can we buy back the homestead? No offer accepted. The land was mine, timber rights, water access, development zoning. The farmhouse, the mill site, the rolling acres, 1,800 acres total, now under Ridge Legacy Partners. They vacated on day 44. I watched the security footage, Thomas loading boxes into a borrowed pickup, Margaret in tears carrying photo albums, Brooke supervising her 2 teenagers. Connor wasn't there, he had left months earlier, moved to Charlotte for a warehouse job. They left the keys with the property manager and drove away. No confrontation. No scene. Just quiet defeat. I renovated the homestead, not for me, but for purpose. Gutted the old farmhouse, added solar panels, modern insulation, turned it into a community center for the land trust. The acres became a mix: 600 acres conserved forest, protected timber, 400 acres solar farm, clean energy revenue, 300 acres affordable housing plots, subsidized lots for low-income families, the rest sustainable agriculture. The trust provided jobs. Tree planting, maintenance, solar installation training. Named it Ramirez Carter Heritage Land Trust. Sophia's name first. My kids helped plant the first trees, Ava, Mateo, Isabella, laughing as they dug holes. I never invited my family back. Thomas died 6 months after the eviction, stroke, alone in the Napa apartment. Susan called my office, last plea. Liam, your father's gone. He asked for you at the end. Connor's struggling. I'm alone. Please, just a little help. 4 old times. I took the call. You disowned me for marrying Sophia. You said she was poor. You cut me off. Now you want help? She cried. We were wrong. We regret it. We see what we lost. Please. I paused. You had 22 years. You used them to hurt me. I used them to build. Goodbye. I hung up. Susan passed a year later, complications from diabetes and grief. Brooke handled arrangements, small service in Asheville. No invite to me. She posted an obituary online. Loving parents of Brooke and Liam. My name included polite fiction. I read it. Didn't comment. Brooke tried one reach email to my foundation. Liam. Mom and Dad are gone. I'm raising 2 kids alone. Connor's in and out of trouble. I know we were awful. I'm sorry. If you ever want to meet your niece and nephew, they ask about you. Brooke. I read it. Donated $100,000 anonymously to a women's shelter in Asheville, domestic violence and single mom support. No name. No reply. Connor sent one message, new number. Uncle Liam. I'm clean 3 years. Working construction. I see now what favoritism did. I took your place. I'm sorry. If you ever want to meet, no pressure. Connor. I deleted it. 22 years after they disowned me for marrying poor, the village land, once their empire, was transformed. The old mill site became a training center for green jobs. The timber acres regenerated under sustainable harvesting. The solar farm powered 800 homes. Affordable housing lots housed families who once worked for dad, migrant workers, single moms, veterans. The trust employed 120 locals, good wages, benefits, no favoritism. Sophia and I raised our kids with abundance and humility. Ava became a software engineer. Mateo studied environmental science. Isabella pursued medicine like her mom. No golden child. No comparisons. Every holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, our house was full. Friends, colleagues, Sophia's extended family, who welcomed me from day one. No exclusions. One Christmas, 23 years after the disownment, I stood on the homestead porch with Sophia, watching our kids play in the snow. The renovated farmhouse glowed behind us, lights in every window, laughter inside. Sophia leaned against me. You did it quietly. No gloating. Just, better. I kissed her forehead. They said there was no place for us. Now there's place for everyone. The land that once excluded us now included hundreds. Brooke sold her house in Asheville, downsized to a condo. Connor stayed sober, worked steady, raised his kids. They never reached out again. They lived with the silence they created. I never regretted the purchase. I regretted only that it took 22 years to make room for myself. The village land, once their legacy, was now everyone's. And my family, Sophia, our kids, the trust, was full. No more poor. No more disowned. Just abundance. Karma didn't need words. It needed time. And one son who turned rejection into revolution, the land trust became my quiet legacy. By year 5, Ramirez Carter Heritage Land Trust employed 280 locals, good wages, health benefits, training programs in green tech and sustainable forestry. The solar farm generated enough power for the town and sold excess back to the grid. Affordable housing lots housed 120 families, migrant workers, single parents, veterans. The old mill site turned into a vocational center, AI coding classes, welding certification, solar installation apprenticeships. Revenue from timber, sustainable harvest, solar leases, and ecotourism funded it all. No debt. No publicity. Just impact. Sophia and I raised our kids with abundance and humility. Ava graduated Stanford in computer science, joined Carter Innovations as head of product. Mateo studied environmental engineering at MIT, worked on the trust's reforestation projects. Isabella followed Sophia into medicine, pediatric oncology at Duke. No golden child. No favoritism. Every holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, graduations, our Raleigh home overflowed. Sophia's parents, who welcomed me from day one, lived nearby, helped with grandkids. No exclusions. No room. Brooke's life unraveled further. Her husband left after the eviction, divorce finalized, no assets left. She worked retail in Charlotte, $15 an hour, night shifts. Her 2 kids, my niece and nephew, lived with her in a small apartment. She never reached out again after the email. Connor stayed sober, construction foreman in Asheville, married, 2 kids. He sent one photo to my office address, public record, his family at a park. No message. Just the picture. I saved it. Didn't reply. 24 years after the disownment, the final chapter closed. The trust bought the last remaining parcel, the old church lot where Thomas and Margaret were buried. I restored the small cemetery, added a memorial bench with a plaque. In memory of those who made mistakes. Forgiveness is for the living. Legacy is for the future. No names. No drama. I never visited the graves. Sophia asked once. Do you want to go? For closure? I shook my head. Closure came when I signed the papers. They don't need me now. And I don't need them. Mia, our oldest granddaughter, asked about great-grandpa Thomas at 10. I told her simply. Some grandparents make mistakes. They chose wrong. But we choose right every day. That's why our family is full. She hugged me. I love our family. 24 years after they disowned me for marrying poor, the village land, once their empire, was transformed into something greater. The farmhouse stood as a community hub: weddings, classes, holiday dinners for families who had none. The acres regenerated, trees replanted, wildlife returned, solar panels humming quietly. The town of Rolling Hills, once dying, revived. Jobs returned. Kids stayed. Poverty eased. Brooke sold her condo, moved to a trailer park in Gastonia. Connor stayed in Asheville, steady job, small house, kids thriving. They never contacted me again. They lived with the silence they created. I never regretted the purchase. I regretted only that it took 22 years to make room for myself and Sophia. The land that once excluded us now included hundreds, families, workers, dreamers. Sophia and I celebrated our 25th anniversary on the homestead porch, kids and grandkids around us, lights in every window, laughter filling the air. Sophia leaned against me. You turned their rejection into this. I kissed her. We did. Together. No more poor. No more disowned. Just abundance. Karma didn't need vengeance. It needed time. And one son who turned no place for you into place for everyone. The village land, once their legacy, was now everyone's. And my family. Sophia, our kids, grandkids, the trust was full. Forever, that was Liam's story. Disowned at 17 for marrying poor, abandoned by his own parents. But he waited 22 years, became a billionaire quietly. And bought their entire village land, turned rejection into revolution. Karma doesn't forgive disownment, it remembers, and it reclaims everything. If this revenge hit deep, smash that like button. Subscribe and hit the bell, next soul-crushing karma story is coming soon. Comment right now. Did your family ever judge you for who you loved? Or would you do what Liam did? See you in the next bitter revenge. Remember, they said no place for you. He made place for everyone.